In its quest to provide an open forum for discussion of controversial issues, this station allows hosts and their guests to express themselves without any significant censorship. You are advised that any view expressed by the host or their guest are not necessarily the views of the owners or management of TogiNet Radio, Togi Entertainment, or the Owners Group, Inc.
It's time for Motherhood Talk Radio, the most powerful voice in women's issues today, with Sandra Beck and Christy Holly. Ladies, Motherhood Talk Radio is here to give you a powerful platform by giving you interesting, inspiring, and influential information as you navigate everything from childcare to corporate formation. Motherhood Talk Radio has interviews with best-selling authors, gurus of happiness, and women of interest who every single day make our world a better place for our families. Motherhood Talk Radio, powered by Motherhood Incorporated, is on the air now. Moms, this really is your show. Motherhood Talk Radio. And now, here are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Christy Holly.
Hey, Mothers. We're here coming to you live from California today. And I have my lovely co-host, Christy. Hello, lady. Now, we have an echo. Let's see. Why do we have an echo? Are we sitting too close? I don't know. Maybe it's Lisa. Sometimes we like to sit on each other's laps during the show. It was last week. Do we still have an echo? We do. Okay. Well, let's see. We're going to try to figure out the technical difficulties that are going on with this. But see, now I don't have feedback. Let's see. I'm going to go as far as I can away from the other girls. Did we lose our feedback? Oh, well, we're in Houston. Houston, do we have a problem? I think we do. Well, we need to get rid of this feedback. But I think we'll just keep going. All right, let's do it. So, Christy, how was your week this week? It was good. Mother's Day was really good. My husband made me breakfast. The kids gave me gifts that they had made at school. I got to celebrate Mother's Day with my mom and my sisters and my grandma, who's 97, and we had a real good time. You did? Did you get any presents? I got presents from my kids. What did they give you? A flower. Hannah brought me a flower from school, and the boys, they opened it and took the stuff out, but it's the thought that counts. They had a little basket with a little bit of candy and some nuts and gum in it, but that's what I got. Which really overall supports both of our weight loss efforts. Absolutely. Well, it supported mine because they ate them. Oh. I didn't even get a chance to dig in. That's always a good thing. So mine was okay. I watched some other people's kids because, Mother's Day gifts are kind of a unique thing. Some moms, like for me, who's a working mom, I don't get to see my kids as much as I'd like, but my friend Denise, who's an ICU nurse and a college educator, she had to work, so I got the luxury of having her kids, and my friend Jackie, she had knee surgery. We send this out to you. Hope you are feeling better. Yes, I got her kids as well, and so I actually had a really fun Mother's Day because I got to see what it was like to be like a mom of 6 and then give them back. See, and I wanted a relaxing day without kids fighting, and I got a little bit of that. So your kids fight? Yes, they do. They argue all the time about anything and everything. Well, they do that. They are apt to do that. Well, something happened, you told me this week, was pretty interesting. It kind of folds into today's show. What did Hannah, your daughter Hannah, who's the love of my son's life, what did she come home this week and ask for? She came home and asked me if I had a Bible. And then I said, yes, I have a Bible, which it's like 32 years old. Vintage. It totally is. It has no pictures or anything, and it's all yellow. But, I showed it to her, and she asked me for a Bible. So I was kind of shocked a little bit because, we don't have a lot of religion in my home. And it's not because we don't want to. It's just kind of because we don't really know, I don't really know which way to go
with this, so I haven't done anything.
Well, I think it's hard. I mean, and I was married to a guy who's Jewish and had kids with a guy who's Jewish, which, kind of adds a wrench into the monkey works, as to where did you take your kids. I mean, he's obviously, skilled in both traditions, but, trying to find a church for them to go to, where they would feel, not that one side of them was completely eradicated or not welcomed was hard for me. And then also not being from California and living here was difficult. So I went on the great California church hunt.
You should have taken me with you.
Yeah, well, I didn't know you that well then.
That's true.
It's hard to go, hey, Mom, I know in preschool when my son's in love with your daughter, why don't you come on this great church hunt? I'm like, yeah, she's a psycho.
Yes.
But, it's interesting because Max asks me some questions sometimes that, he asked me recently, is he going to go to heaven? And I said, why wouldn't you go to heaven? He says, well, half of me will because, half of me is Christian. And he's like, the other half, he says, I don't know. And I was like, is it the top half or the bottom half? And, he's like, I think I leave my feet down here. I'm like, oh, well, that's good. But it is hard. It's very hard, especially I think as parents, we don't really think about church that much, or at least I didn't, until I had kids.
I didn't either, honestly.
I would go because my mom would say, okay, come on, time to get up, time to go to church. And, sometimes I would, sit through church in a stupor, not hearing anything. Sometimes I would listen. And my mom was, pretty serious about it and gave us a good foundation. But, marrying somebody who's Jewish, sheds a different light on it. And it was really I didn't even mind so much when my kids were little, but when they got school age, I think that's when it gets different, don't you?
I do. I went to church when I was little, and my grandma and grandpa would come pick us up every Sunday for Sunday school, and then we got bored of it, I think. My sister and I did, or she didn't want to go, so then I didn't want to go, but it was like an old people church. So, we just kind of stopped going, and then that was it. So we never, growing up, my dad he always had to go to church. He was forced to go to church, so I think he decided that he wasn't going to do that to us. So we never went. And now as an adult and as a parent, I want that for my kids. I want someplace for them to go, someplace, that's comforting, and, if they can't have the comfort at home, they can go there and get it.
Right, and maybe get some different spiritual tools.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just need to pick a place. My husband is Catholic, and I'm not Catholic, and I don't know, I feel left out of that religion for,
Well, I jump ship, so.
Not to offend anybody out there, but
Well, it's hard. It's hard to find the right place to go. I mean, it's like we live in an area that's really close to Los Angeles, so, I had a ton of places to go and visit, and I did, and I would go, and I would sit there, and I would listen, and I would think, well, does it feel good? Does it feel right? Is it fun? Is it, is it what I want? Is it really traditional? No. And it was really funny because, a friend of mine just out of the blue asked me, she's like, oh, why don't you come to this one church? And it happens to be located in Agua Dulce. There's a main branch of it, Shepherd of the Hills, which is a huge church down in Los Angeles. But, it was like this cute little kind of farmhouse place. And I'm thinking, okay, this is just, crazy. But what was funny is I went in and I liked it. I liked the people I met. I thought, it was non-denominational and it had really good music and it was hip, fun music. It wasn't like I didn't leave feeling like, I was like, 3 steps away from wanting to kill myself, because I'm so depressed and guilt-ridden.
Sinner.
Yeah. No, but I felt uplifted. I felt happy. And, I thought since it's non-denominational, and everybody's got to make the own choice for what's best for them. But for me, having a kid who is, kind of half Jewish, half Christian, to have a non-denominational, even though it's a non-denominational Christian church, it really made a difference. But it was seriously a search of probably 3 years to find a place where I really wanted to go on a regular basis. And I think my 3-year-old sealed it the best. He's like, he calls it Donut Church.
Well,
he gets a donut after, and he's like, Mom, we're going to Donut Church. So, and Max likes it too, but it had to be something, that really fit for all of us. And then not only just fit for us spiritually and like emotionally, but physically, I didn't want it to be too far, because if it was too far, I wouldn't go.
That's true.
And then, the other thing is I needed it to it needed to be uplifting, because I didn't want to go anywhere, that would bring me down.
Yeah, that. I don't want to go anywhere that's going to bring me down or make me feel guilty. I want to feel good for going. I want to feel good when I get there. I want to feel good when I leave.
Right, and hopeful. And
exactly.
And I wanted it to tend to the whole family. I mean, we're only a family of 3, but, I have 2 really distinct personalities in my kids and then myself. And, it's hard to kind of figure out, where do you go, what do you do to attend the needs to everybody. And what was the best part of going to this church is that I met Lisa, who's our guest today. And Lisa is very cool. She is the wife of the pastor, and she is going to come on in the next segment. And she's educated, she's articulate, she's funny, she's a mom of 4, she's got it going on, she works. She's like a real woman of today, and it's so wild to me to think about her as like a pastor's wife, because I expected her to like show up in like a frock.
I know, or like a little dress or something,
right?
A little flower dress.
Yep, and like I don't know, bless my spaghetti. But she was just so fun, and she's so fun to talk to, and we're so glad to have her on the show today. And I'm just really, really grateful this week for her, because she's given me a lot of guidance, and she's given my friends a lot of guidance on, how to make a choice when we have so many choices. And Christy, how about we've got 1 minute to break. Let's see, what should we do before the break? How about we have Lisa introduce herself really quick. Lisa, are you there?
I'm here.
Hi, Lisa. How was that for a big
setup? Well, what can I say about myself? Like you said, I have 4 children, and it's kind of funny when you talked about me as being a pastor's wife, because I never saw myself as being a pastor's wife. I just ended up marrying a pastor, and here we are. So that's kind of an odd place for me to be, quite honestly, because I've known lots of pastors' wives, and I don't like frocks. I would never wear one. And actually, I worked in the garment industry for many years, so no frocks. I like my jeans, my T-shirts, and I am what I am, and I love God, and I just want to be real for Him, and this is what I am. So,
well, that's terrific, Lisa. We're going to go to commercial break. We're going to come back with Lisa Dietrich and talk more about spirituality in the family.
Mom, here's your show, Motherhood Talk Radio, giving you interesting, inspiring, and influential information as you navigate everything from childcare to corporate formation. This is Motherhood Talk Radio, and we'll be right back after these. Girlfriended is on TogiNet, Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, with your hosts Patty Wyatt and Lisa Jernigan. This show is your chance to share, learn, laugh, and connect with other women. The Girlfriended principle was born out of loss.
Lisa had recently had her mother pass away from cancer, and my mom was murdered. A man just walking into a room and started a 23-second shooting spree.
I think one of the things we both realized going through those tragedies that you can be extremely okay and be extremely sad.
Check out girlfriended.com and then be a part of Girlfriended, the radio show. Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central.
Your boyfriend or your husband or whatever, they don't totally understand that emotional side to a woman like another woman does. And I think that's so important, just to have somebody that you go, she gets me.
Check out the website, girlfriended.com. Don't miss Girlfriended with Patty Wyatt and Lisa Jernigan. Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com. What's your story? Are you living it? Well, you could be. It's What's Your Story with Hillary Bilbrey. Friday mornings at 10 Eastern, 9 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com. Her passion is helping others discover, create, and live their personal brands. Yep, you heard me. You have a brand. No different than Coke, Pepsi, or Nike. You are a walking, talking, living, breathing brand. You're not a logo. You're not a tagline. The choices you make become the path you take. This is your brand. Now, live your story. Your brand is not just what you say it is. It's also what others say it is. So what are you communicating? And how can you create an authentic brand? We'll take on these challenges with What's Your Story? Every week, Hillary will feature teens, moms, and organizations that are learning and living their story. Now, her passion is to help others discover, create, and live their personal brands. To find out more, go to inspiredbyfamily.com. It's What's Your Story with Hillary Bilbrey. Friday mornings at 10 Eastern, 9 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com. Welcome back to Motherhood Talk Radio, the most powerful voice in women's issues. For more information, check out the website, motherhoodtalkradio.com. Now, let's get back to the show with your hosts, Sandra Beck and Christy Holly.
Should I try to go somewhere else?
Hey, we're here at Motherhood Talk Radio, and we have Lisa Dietrich today. She's the wife of the pastor of Shepherd of the Hills, Agua Dulce. And I'm here with my lovely co-host, Christy Holly.
Hello, ladies.
Christy, do you own a frock?
Do I own a... I don't think I do. I hope I don't.
I actually bought some frocks when I was pregnant. You know, they would sell them at, like, the motherhood stores, you know, and they would be, like, floral print, and I could live out my little house in the prairie days.
I love the prairie.
You know, it was a good show. Did you like Nellie?
No.
I did.
I liked Mary.
Mary was so boring.
I know, but she was so pretty.
Oh, I was so happy when she went blind.
Rude. I was devastated.
Were you really?
Yes.
Yeah, and I always wanted to, like, push Melissa Gilbert's teeth together.
Oh.
So what about you, Lisa? Did you like Little House on the Prairie?
I did. I actually liked the books better than the series, but yes, I really did enjoy that. Sometimes when all the, the power goes out and everything, all the electronic things are giving me troubles, I kind of think about those days and think it would be kind of nice to live in those days because we didn't have to deal with things like connection errors.
Yeah, except we had to deal with, like, typhoid and botulism and
very true,
like Indian raids and dirt floors.
Yeah. Exactly, and I kind of like being able to drive myself places and talk on the phone.
And maybe even having a voice. How about that?
Yes.
And the right to vote?
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one, too, like that.
Okay,
anyway, I'm just talking about the technology things, not the other stuff.
Yes, I'll be wearing a sheepskin tomorrow to work. So you said, let's go back to earlier, you said now when you met your husband, was he a minister or did he become a minister while you were married?
We were actually in college, and no, he wasn't a minister yet, but he was on his way. That's what he knew that's what he wanted to do, and the first time I met him, I knew that's what he was meant to be. It was kind of an interesting thing, but like I said, I never really, put that into my shoes until he actually became a minister. It's like, oh, I'm a pastor's wife. Well, okay, I'm a pastor's wife, but I can still be myself because this is who I am. And I have some pastor's wives friends that are wonderful people, and I try to look to them to be mentors, but at the same time, I am my own person, and I think I'm here for a reason, and it's not to be like other people. It's to be me and to reach out to those who I connect with. So that's where it's at this point. But it's interesting. It wasn't until, we met in college, but, I had spent some time away from the church. You were talking about what church to go to and how do you know what to do. And, when I was growing up, I grew up in a church, a non-denominational church. My parents took me to church, and, it all was pretty good and everything. But then they put me into, a Christian school of a different denomination, and then I later transferred to another school with a different denomination, and it quite honestly became very confusing to me because we all used the same Bible, but there was a lot of infighting, and I really couldn't understand why all these people were, pointing their fingers at each other instead of actually trying to make a difference in the world. And quite frankly, when I became a teenager, I just rebelled against all of it and said, I don't want to have anything to do with all this. I just put it away. Don't want to deal with it. And it wasn't until I actually had my first child and took a look at that baby and was overwhelmed with the responsibility that I now had, that I was responsible for her physical well-being, I was responsible for her emotional well-being, and I was also responsible for her spiritual well-being. And that's what really made me start thinking about why are these people arguing with each other? Why can they use the same Bible? Well, I decided maybe I ought to read this Bible that everybody was thumping on each other instead of just, trying to take other people's words for it. And that's when when I started reading it, that's when I really came to know who God was and the plan that he had for me in my life. And interestingly enough, the directive that he has for us as far as parents and teaching our children about him, the first thing he says, and it's interesting, Sandra, that you talk about, marrying a Jewish man because, the Bible, God held the Jewish nation apart and said, you're going to be my people, and here's how I want you to live. He said, first of all, I want you to love me with everything you are, your mind, your heart, your strength, and then I'm going to give you some rules to live by. I'm going to give you some commandments, 10 of them, and then a lot more, and I want you to teach them to your children. I want you to teach them to them when they're laying down. I want you to teach it to them when they're up. I want you to teach it to them while you're walking down the road with them. I want it to be like plastered on their foreheads. You're marketing, Sandra, so you know about the top of mind. I want me to be on the top of your mind, and I want you to make sure that I'm on the top of your children's minds. The rules, the right and wrong, not just the rules and regulations, but loving God and knowing right from wrong, because he gives us this wonderful book to live by, and he gives us all kinds of precepts and all kinds of wonderful things to live by, and it's mostly the law of love. He says, I want you to love me, first of all, with everything you are, and then I want you to love your neighbor as yourself. And that pretty much takes care of all of the rules, all the commandments, everything's in there.
Yeah,
so, when I realized that was
it. Like, Lisa, here's the thing. I have an MBA, or I have a master's degree from Northwestern University. I'm a classically trained journalist. I have an IQ in the triple digits. But, I open up the Bible, and it's like, half the stuff I don't understand. It's, their names are funny. I mean, I know there's my favorite one is Deuteronomy because it sounds like Monopoly. I don't even know, it's it's overwhelming. And here I am, college-educated, literate. I own a Kindle. I download books voraciously. And I have actually quite a nice collection of Bibles on my shelf here. But, where would you even begin? Because you say, when you were talking about that whole thing about, there's specific rules, there's all these guidance in here for parents, and thinking, well, maybe I'd still be married if I followed a few of them. But
interestingly enough, the one about training your children actually is in Deuteronomy. Kind of ironic, isn't it? Well, you have to think about the Bible. It's actually a collection of books. It's like a little library. And we tend to, most books we read cover to cover, but the Bible isn't necessarily like that. There's a lot to it, and it was written down by a lot of different people over a period of about 1,500 years. So you get some law at the beginning, and then you get some history, you get some poetry, you get the writings of prophets throughout the Old Testament, and then you get into the New Testament where it's talking about Jesus and how the church began and all of this. So it can be overwhelming and it can be confusing, but I would recommend that you just break it down and just, maybe start.
You've actually read it from cover to cover?
Several times, yes.
Every page, you didn't just skip through sections. I mean, because they're skinny little thin pages.
You said several times, too.
Yes, several times. Did
you
not get it the first time, or?
Excuse me?
I mean, I was so stupid, but did you not get it the first time? Is it meant to be read over and over, or?
It is. There was this dear little old lady that used to teach in the Sunday school down at Shepherd of the Hills in Porter Ranch, and she was, I'm not sure how old she was, but she had been teaching Sunday school for 70 years, so you do the math. But she said, I've read the Bible every year, all of my life, and every time it's something new. And it really isn't something that you just read and then put down, because depending on where you are in your life, and every year we're at a different place in our lives, something else will just kind of jump out at you wow, I kind of missed that last time, but this time it really has special meaning to me. So, I believe it is the Word of God. He wants us to know Him, and He, conveniently enough, gave us a book, and actually gave us a collection of books to find out about Him and to get to know Him. And so, yes, I still read it regularly.
Do you oracle it? My favorite thing to do with my, I have my tarot card reading book, so we'll just watch the radio station set on fire. But there's my astrology stuff, and I was sometimes I'll just flip open and look, and whatever passage comes up, I'll read that, thinking, I wonder if that's the message. Can you oracle the Bible that way?
I've known people that have done that, but let me ask you this, Sandra. Let's say you get a letter in the mail. Do you just kind of like close your eyes and point your finger on one paragraph in the letter and read that? And, okay, I'm going to put it away and read it some more tomorrow.
Wow, you know me too well. Sometimes.
Some of the books of the Bible are actually letters, and you want to read the whole letter. And, you know, some books are very long, and they're not letters. So I've known people that have done that and really found, you know, a lot of meaning in that. And once in a while, that's a good thing to do, because I think sometimes we need that. You know, I don't know what to do. I'm confused. You know, put your finger on it. But if you really want to learn the heart of God and get to know Him, it takes a little more study. It's kind of like when you get, you know, when you're going to school. I mean, I have a master's degree also, and if I had never cracked a book or read the text for my classes, I would not have passed, right? And the Bible's the same way. We need to read and study and learn, and God gave us wonderful minds. I think the printing press is one of the best inventions ever, because now we all have one in our hands. It's not chained to a church, you know, pulpit somewhere, and we're all literate. So, you know, and we have to thank our founding fathers for, you know, starting an educational system in our country where everybody is taught to read, and that was the purpose. The education is so prevalent in this country because our founding fathers were Christians, and they wanted their children to be able to read their own Bibles and find God for themselves, not without any direction, but to be able to find Him. And you know, it's amazing that God has revealed Himself to us first through nature before the written word was even available, but then, you know, over time, He gave us a written word that we can actually read and study.
That's really interesting. We are here with Lisa Dietrich, and she is the pastor she's the wife of the pastor at Shepherd of the Hills, Agua Dulce. Shepherd of the Hills has got its main church located down in Porter Ranch, California. Is that right, Lisa?
Yes, that's correct.
And there's a website for this church, too, as well. Do you know the website address?
I do. It's www.theshepherd.org.
Shepherd.org. There's lots of helpful information on there. And, Christy, we are about to go to break. And what do you think so far?
Well, so far so good. I am anxious, and I'm looking forward to finding a place for my family to go and worship.
All right. Well, we're about to go to commercial break. I'm here with my lovely co-host, Christy Holly, and our guest, Lisa Dietrich of Shepherd of the Hills, Agua Dulce.
Mom, here's your show, Motherhood Talk Radio, giving you interesting, inspiring, and influential information as you navigate everything from childcare to corporate formation. This is Motherhood Talk Radio, and we'll be right back after these. Join Learning and Laughter with Louise every Wednesday at 9 Eastern, 8 a.m. Central on TogiNet to discuss fun, fascinating, and educational topics. Each week, Louise will be talking with a variety of guests, ranging from authors, educators, parents, filmmakers, athletes, and entrepreneurs, just to name a few. You know, when it comes to learning, the sky is the limit. And so will the topics that are covered here on Learning and Laughter with Louise. Louise Sattler is a school psychologist who has worked within the fields of special education and bilingual education. She also owns a successful company, Signing Families, that creates DVDs and special workshops to teach sign language and instructional products for people of all ages and needs. With new DVDs coming out soon, check her website for more information at signingfamilies.com. From time to time, Louise will be joined by her daughter, Natasha Sattler, who will give a college-age perspective to the show. So pour that morning cup of coffee and join us here on TogiNet every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central. You never know who will show up for Learning and Laughter with Louise on TogiNet.com. Let's chat it up with Bloom Talk with Barb Scala on TogiNet, Thursday afternoons at 3 Eastern, 2 Central, and find out how women are growing, blossoming, and blooming in their friendships and careers, health, and so much more. It's Bloom Talk with Barb Scala. Check out our website, bloomwithbarb.com. Whether you want to transplant your life or just do a little pruning, Bloom Talk will inspire you to cultivate the lifestyle you want to live. Join lifestyle coach and co-author of Sanity Savers, Barb Scala, each week on Bloom Talk and sprout your dreams. Grow your life.
I hear a lot from women. I want meaning in my life. I want a fulfilling life. I want to do something that's exciting. And I can control my life instead of my life controlling me. I can tell the world this is who I am and this is what I'm all about.
Barb will introduce you to dynamic guests and real women who are redesigning, rebuilding, and reinventing their own lives. And Bloomstorm how you can dream, create, and grow the lifestyle you want to live. It's Bloom Talk with Barb Scala. Thursday afternoons at 3 Eastern, 2 Central on TogiNet.com. Welcome back to Motherhood Talk Radio, the most powerful voice in women's issues. For more information, check out the website, motherhoodtalkradio.com. Now, let's get back to the show with your hosts, Sandra Beck and Christy Holly.
Hey, mothers. We are here with Christy Holly, who's just giggling her head off over here. And we're here with Lisa Dietrich, and we're talking today about spirituality in the family. And we have Lisa, who's here. She's the wife of the pastor at Shepherd of the Hills, Agua Dulce, part of Shepherd.org. The Shepherd, what was it, Lisa?
TheShepherd.org.
I don't know why I have such a hard time with that. During the break, Christy and I were talking because, this is a family show, and we do talk about, kind of motherhood issues and family issues. What's interesting to both of us is that, you're married to the pastor of the church, and, Christy's married to a fireman. I'm married to a balloon animal. But how do you separate the job from the man? I was raised in the Catholic Church, so I always looked at the leader of the church as kind of like omniscient, omnipotent, almost godlike, whatever they say is right. So could not do that to the man I'm married to. How does that play out in your household?
Well, sometimes it's a little dicey because, we have our disagreements like any other married couple. But, at the end of the day, I just stop and, and the nice thing about the way our relationship is that he can stop and go, you know what, Lisa, you're right. I'll say, thank you. I know. And there are times when I have to say,
I know.
There are times when I have to say, Al, you're right. And I'm sorry. And, we just take it from there. So we're very open and honest with each other. And one thing, because we've been married a long time, we've been married almost 23 years, we know we're not perfect. And I know even though he's a pastor, he's not a perfect man. He's perfect for me. But, but that's part of the cool thing about Christianity and our faith is that we understand that. God understands that we're not perfect, and he loves us anyway. That we need to love each other anyway. And, kind of go by those imperfections and just, work on ourselves and, do the best we can in our lives. As far as, being involved in the church, we were, even before he became a pastor, we were very involved because that passage from Deuteronomy about teaching your children all the time, to us that meant being involved and not just doing churchy things, but actually, picking up causes that were close to our hearts. So when our children were young, it was very important that we were in there working with them and teaching them and their friends and the other kids around. And Al has always been great with kids, so he was in there as well. And it's not just, it's not just going through the motions, but actually finding a passion and living it out and serving and making your little part of the world a better place.
What are some of the things you did with your family?
As far as activities in the church?
Well, just activities you said, you got involved for teaching and...
Right. Well, teaching like Sunday school, I've always had a passion for teaching, toddler Sunday school classes. I just love those kids. Actually, I love them all. But Al was more grade school age and junior high, so he would be teaching in there, and, I'd be with the younger ones. What are some other things we've done? I've taught some women's Bible studies. I've taught some moms groups. Just, we've had studies where, different moms would come in and we just sit and talk about what it was like being moms and, the issues of the day with, raising our families and taking care of all of the things that we need to take care of as moms. We did a lot of things like that. He also has done some group, work with other men and dads. And so whatever, it kind of goes from one thing to another. It's not like this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. It's kind of like, okay, at one point I was doing Sunday school, and I still do that from time to time, but whatever things come up, we're jumped in and being involved. And it's kind of like where God leads us to go, we go, and we serve there.
Well, and Christy was talking to me earlier about an interesting thing, and you brought something up where, like, you led like a women's group where you talked about like motherhood issues and stuff like that. And Christy asked me about advice, and like what happens when a mom comes to the pastor for advice? Like, does he ever talk to you about it, like to get the mom perspective?
Sometimes he does. I mean, usually he'll kind of ask the woman, the person who's coming to him for counsel. He doesn't just share all that with me because that's very discreet. That's
right,
a counseling session, and it is a private situation. But sometimes he'll, we'll talk about things. He doesn't just say, "This person said this to me. What do you think?" We have conversations all the time anyway. So. Yeah, and so, he may, and I don't even realize it's because it came out of a counseling session.
But he may ask you, like, what you think?
I usually tell him whether he asks me or not. My husband never needs to know what I'm thinking because I let him know.
And so, do you see him as the pastor of the church? Like, when he's up there, do you see him as the pastor, or is he just Al?
Well, he's kind of like Pastor Al. As far as, leadership and guidance is kind of an interesting thing because everybody looks to the pastor like they kind of put him up on a pedestal. And, I'm very pleased to see that he's there. And, again, I've known all our lives that that's where he was meant to be. So I'm there more as a support for him. And, again, there are times when we play off each other and we discuss things, and I'll give him ideas, he gives me ideas. I'd kind of like to think, I don't like to think of putting anybody up on a pedestal. And it's a little uncomfortable sometimes in a pastor's family to be there because I know people do that, but we're just people too, And there are times when, after church, we'll come home and I'll go, "Well, honey, that was an okay sermon."
Oh, the judgment! You shall not cast judgment.
It's kind of a difficult thing to separate.
Well, it's hard because he doesn't go to your work and say, "Lisa, that content database management program you wrote, not your best work."
That's true, and I try to, he actually asked me to listen to his sermons and, kind of tell him what I think before the church. So I don't like interrupt him in the middle of a service or anything.
Right. Wait a minute, that's not right.
We have a pronunciation check in aisle 2.
So it's kind of a unique position to be in life, but I'm very thankful that we are where we are, and that that we can make a difference in our little community. And like I said, as imperfect as we are, we still do our best.
Well, and you have made a difference. I mean, you've made a difference in my life. You've made a difference in Denise's life, and I'm sure the other people that go regularly to the program, that programs that you offer, you see a difference. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about, because you have raised kids and your kids are a variety of ages, which is really fun. If you want to share with us the ages of your kids.
Well, my youngest is 14 and my oldest is 20-something.
Right, so you have run the gamut.
Yes.
And your kids are all different. I mean, I've only been, blessed to meet 2 of your kids. I've never met the other 2, but they're really, really different personalities. And it's always interesting to me, when you said that thing about, we as moms, when we have a baby, we attend to the spiritual needs, we attend to the emotional needs, the physical needs. And I just want you to know my 3-year-old is behind the door screaming his bloody head off. I have no idea what's wrong. There's at least 2 adults out there that can tend to him, but it's really hard to concentrate while he's screaming. And so excuse me if I sound a little bit off. But how do you attend to the individual spiritual needs of your children? Because they're all different.
They are different, and that's where we have to get to know our children. I mean, we hear people saying that statistically, some parents don't even know what color their children's eyes are because they don't know them that well, and they're another human being that we need to get to know. So, how do I attend to their needs? By knowing them individually, knowing what their bents are, and by that I mean what tendencies they have, because, for instance, my older son, who you haven't met, who has recently gone into the Army, he was literally born fighting against boundaries. He fought off 3 nurses for 15 minutes who just wanted to tag him when he was born. And that boy was a handful, okay? So his spiritual needs were great, okay? And we believe that God gave him to us because he thought we could handle him, and I guess we have. He's a pretty good kid. My older daughter, when she got to be a young adult, she chose to leave the church completely. She doesn't go to church. She has lost her faith as far as we know, but I still love her dearly. And so, those are the kind of things that we tend to their needs, but ultimately they grow up and be adults, and they get to make their choices in life, just like we did. You both were saying that you were raised in church, and you kind of made choices to walk away from that, at least for a time in your lives. And our children might do that. And, where it's kind of, painful to see, we also have to understand that God made them individually as well. And they are going to have their individual choices that they get to make in life.
That's a hard thing to watch.
It is. It has been. And I remember when my oldest daughter was very young, I went to camp one weekend with her. It was kind of like a family camp thing. And I remember a pastor there talking about how, your children may grow up and rip your heart out and stomp all over it. And, at times we feel that they've done that. And yet it's interesting that we still love them. I still love my children. And, and that's the nice thing about God presenting himself in an analogy as a father to us, because now as a mother I can understand how God could still love me, how God could still love everyone, how God loved the world enough to make the ultimate sacrifice for us. And, when my children go off and do things that they shouldn't do, I still love them. I still pray for them. And, it is painful to see, and yet that's part of life. We live in a fallen world. We live in an imperfect world. We're all imperfect people. I'm an imperfect mom. Our children aren't perfect, and that's what we get to live with. So, it's okay. We still have our love.
And our radio show in the beginning was far from perfect with its, with its reverberation or what else was going on. But Lisa, I'm so happy that you're here today to share your insight with us. We are about to go to commercial break. I'm here with my great co-host, Christy Holly, and our guest from Shepherd of the Hills, Agua Dulce, Lisa Dietrich. I guess we're not going to commercial break.
Huh? Was that dead air?
Yeah, we'll talk about.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Mom, here's your show, Motherhood Talk Radio, giving you interesting, inspiring, and influential information as you navigate everything from childcare to corporate formation. This is Motherhood Talk Radio, and we'll be right back after these. Combine snide and remark, and you've got snark. Combine Lisa Mena and Valia Alvarez on Monday nights, and you've got deep dish snark. Monday nights at 9, 8 Central, part of the Her Insight Network. When you've had enough at work or at home, and you're ready to laugh, join Lisa and Valia for their no BS look at the world and the people in it. They'll be serving up a no-holds-barred take on pop culture, current events, entertainment, and family matters, with segments like Accidentally Helpful, TV is Now My Hobby, and Who Sucks This Week. Deep Dish Snark delivers something for every girl who enjoys life with a dash of sarcasm. Lisa Mena is a former TV news anchor turned stay-at-home mom. She's making sure if anyone screws up her kids, it's her. Valia Alvarez suffers life as a jack of all trades, mistress of none, by juggling a PR career, marriage, motherhood, and more. Don't miss Deep Dish Snark with Lisa Mena and Valia Alvarez, Monday nights at 9, 8 Central, part of the Her Insight Network, on TogiNet.com. Get ready for the Not So Soccer Mom, Tuesday afternoons at 1 Eastern, noon Central on TogiNet with Jill Hickey. You name it, from politics to pop culture to Jill's search for the perfect bronzer and chicken salad. The Not So Soccer Mom will weigh in on it all. The sentence, "I have no opinion about that," is one that Jill has never uttered. In the early 90s, Jill finally decided to put her thoughts, opinions, mom advice, love of pop culture, hummus, and Starbucks, working out, cosmetic shopping, and politics into an actual website, and thus NotSoSoccerMom.com was born. Shortly after her fourth child, a boy, Jerome, now she's really got tons of topics to share with you. This is Laugh Out Loud Funny, and we're not kidding. What's a loud Nebraska girl who lived in Little Rock for many years and now is up in the Northeast doing? Chronicling her opinions on everything. The wheels aren't off yet, but it's close. It's the Not So Soccer Mom with Jill Hickey, Tuesday afternoons at 1 Eastern, noon Central on TogiNet.com. Welcome back to Motherhood Talk Radio, the most powerful voice in women's issues. For more information, check out the website, motherhoodtalkradio.com. Now, let's get back to the show with your hosts, Sandra Beck and Christy Holly.
Hey, moms, we're here at Motherhood Talk Radio, and we have our guest, Lisa Dietrich of Shepherd of the Hills, Agua Dulce. And Christy and I were talking at the break about about teaching your kids. Christy, go ahead and tell her what you're telling me.
Well, I need to know, like, how do you teach your kids about prayer? Like, we haven't really gone to church yet, but, right. I pray in my own way, and I wanted to teach my kids, how to pray, what to pray about. I don't want them to pray for selfish things, but I want them to know, what to ask for, and if they need help, like, to know how to ask for help. And, I don't really know, like, I don't have the knowledge to do that. So,
it's interesting that Jesus' own disciples asked him, teach us how to pray. And that's where the Lord's Prayer came from. I think most of us know that, our Father who art in heaven, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense unless you break it down. And there's certain elements of that where, in that model of praying, you start out by acknowledging God who He is, and He wants us to at least acknowledge Him and have some faith that He can hear us, and He has said that He would. So, we kind of start out by just saying, "Hey there, hi God, it's me." And then, acknowledge the fact that He rules on this earth, even though it doesn't seem like it sometimes, that He does. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. And we're basically asking Him to, do His will here on earth and in our lives. And then give us this day our daily bread. That's where we ask Him for the things that we need. And, and it doesn't hurt. He already knows what we need. But He wants us to remember that we're dependent on Him for everything, and that He provides so abundantly to us. And it's kind of a cool thing. And kids, we all pray selfishly. I mean, there's, we can teach them not to, but we're going to anyway.
You're kidding? As kids, as an adult, I'm still. I really want that product.
We all do.
I try not to ask for too many things, and then I ask for other things for other people is what I try to do.
So, Lisa, give us an example. Can you give us an example of, like our kids are, Christy's and my kids are, 6, and then I've got a 3-year-old, you've got a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old, so we're 2, 3, 4, 6, and 6. What would be something you would teach us? Like, give us an example so we can copy you and not have to think, pretty much.
Well, when kids are little, I think it's just, keep it very simple. God wants us to talk to Him in our own voices. So, dear God, thank you for this beautiful day. And it is gorgeous. If you look outside.
It is beautiful today.
It's, of course, Southern California is always beautiful here, so we have a lot to be thankful for.
For those listening in New York where it's 44 and sleeting.
Sorry.
Sorry, that was
But you know what? They get a lot of water. We pray for water here, so, it goes both ways. But keep it simple and just help them to start looking at, life with gratitude. Thank you for all the wonderful things that we have in our lives. Thank you for my friends. And one of the most important things about prayer, I think, is in terms of teaching our children how to relate to others, is that when your child comes home from, playing with a friend and says, my little friend and I got in a fight today, and I don't like him very much right now. That's a great time to just sit down and pray for that child. Pray for your relationship with them, because what happens when we pray for others, it changes the way we approach that other person. It softens our hearts towards them. And when my oldest daughter was young, and there was a girl at her school that was bullying her, and I said, you know what, let's just sit and pray for this girl. And we did. We prayed for her, and the next day my daughter went back to school and said, you know what, we prayed for you. And every night we'd pray for her, and she'd go back to school, and you know what, we prayed for you. And within a very short time, those girls were very good friends. And it turned out this girl had a very terrible home life, and she was being a bully because it made her feel better. But all of a sudden, this little girl she was bullying started praying for her, and it really changed their relationship for life. So it can definitely change how we approach other people.
Yeah, I would never have thought to do that. I would have been like, what's wrong with that kid? I gotta kill that kid.
Well, it's a hard thing to do, and it's a hard thing to teach our kids to do, because if they don't like somebody, it's kind of like that. If we don't like somebody, we don't want to ask for good things for them. But it really does, if you've met somebody that doesn't like you, you know how they look at you, and you just get that feeling like, oh, that person doesn't like me.
Yeah, I kind of like it.
When you, yeah, exactly. And it's the same with our kids. And so when we start praying for people, it changes the way we look at them, and it can't help but change the way they feel about us.
It's true. I think that's really valuable. It's a great, valuable tool, to include in our arsenal of, raising our kids, because it is difficult. Do you think it's been difficult for your kids to have a pastor as a dad? Has it been difficult at times for them?
It has been, and as a matter of fact, I was just talking with my son last night that it's almost not fair sometimes, because there's this pastor's kids have a reputation for being wild and crazy and always getting into trouble, and yet they're kind of living in a fishbowl where it doesn't any little thing they do, everybody sees it, everybody knows about it, it's scandalous. Whereas
oh my gosh, every mistake they make.
Every little mistake they make, people see it, and it's it's really not fair, and yet. We can grow from that as well. We can, maybe it makes, our sense of, appreciation for God and His love even more evident in our lives, because we know that God still loves us. And, it's humbling to us. I was talking a little earlier about being on a pedestal, because I don't like being there, and that's why, because my children aren't perfect. I'm not perfect. Anybody who knows me will attest to that. So, it's definitely a humbling thing, too.
What do you think the best thing is by raising your kids with having a pastor as a dad?
Well, his schedule's pretty flexible, so he gets to spend time with them. And because I work full-time, it's a real good thing, because Dad's close by, and he's the one that's picking up the kids from school and going to all the meetings and things like that. So as far as our family is concerned, that's been a good thing. And also, I think seeing both of their parents involved in something that's meaningful, that's not self-centered. It's one thing to belong to, a club or something, but this is something where we're actually going out, the whole family going out and making a difference in the world. I think that's been really good for the kids to see, and we've, made that example to them that this is how we make a difference in the world. We go out and we touch people. Yeah, we can vote, and we should vote, and we can be involved in other things. We can be involved in the community. That's all very good. But this is something that we can do, first of all, that has eternal implications, but also something that we can pass down through the family, that, we're not just out doing good. We're actually making a difference in the world. And there's a lot of ways to do that. And we all have different passions and different bents in life. So that's
and you do it together as a family, which is
exactly
the one thing that I see. You guys do this kind of alternative. I hate to say the word alternative, but it is like an alternative service at night. The one I take my kids to, which plays a lot of rock music, and it's really informal, and it's super fun, and there's food, and the music's great, and the company's great, and the kids have a ball, and I have a ball. But the one thing I always notice is that, your son John is up there playing the drums, your daughter sometimes is running the lights. Your husband's running around doing whatever he does before he moves a lot. Put it that way. It's like there's 5 of them there. It's like there's Elle, there's Elle. But you're all together involved in it as a family. It's a beautiful thing.
Right. And it's been a labor of love there. But again, I'm one of those people that can't sit still either. So I try not to interfere in what he's doing. I don't want to be a co-pastor. I know a lot of women are, and that's great for them. I don't want to be a co-pastor. Yes. There are churches, especially in the area. I mean, there's husband and wife ministry teams. I prefer not to be. I'm more introverted. I want to be behind the scenes, but it's just what we do, and it's not like something that we're forced to do. There are times when, quite honestly, I don't feel like being there, and I'm probably not going to be there. So Al doesn't have that luxury because he's actually paid to be there, but that's not why he's there. But,
is that when you have one of your gardening moments?
Yes. I have my gardening moments. I'll just go out in the garden and dig in the dirt. But it is something that it is a passion. We love doing this. And as far as the music, that was one of the things that, honestly, when I started coming back to church, I started going to different churches. And, because I had read the Bible, I wanted to make sure they were actually preaching from the Bible, because if they're not, then it's just another, seminar or whatever. But the music was important to me because I really like rock and roll, and so I'm kind of behind some of the music there too. I'll hear songs like, "Oh, we got to play this in church, Al," so that's kind of where my influence comes in.
Well, but I think it's important because you've given us two great things today. That I'd love our readers to take away with. Here you are, the pastor's wife. You have your own education, you have your own point of view, you have your own life, really, that you share with him. But when we joke about the gardening moment, you did. You took a moment out of all your obligation just to tend to yourself at that point. And I think that's something that we as mothers, almost never do. And but the other point that you made is that, you can create something, like with the rock music and make it, because prayer takes on a lot of different forms. It can be in the form of music. It can be the form of dance. What are some other forms, Lisa? There's meditation.
In terms of worship? There's so many things because, like the gardening, and I will go to the beach for my moments because the waves are so powerful, and it just reminds me of the power of God. I'll go up into the mountains because the wind rushing through the trees has such a special sound. It reminds me of the Spirit in my life, and there's so many ways that we can worship God and that we can pray to Him and experience Him in our lives, that we need to become quiet and sensitive to that. And there's a verse in Psalms that says, "Be still and know that I am God." And sometimes we just need to step away from it all, even if it's running into the bathroom.
Right, hiding from our kids.
Take a few minutes and just be still and be quiet and listen for God.
Well, I think, Lisa, you've been a fantastic guest today. You've given us so much information, so many things to think about. I apologize for the toddler coughing on my lap. But sometimes when you're sick, only Mom will do.
And that's so true.
I'd like to thank Christy for being my co-host today. We've had another great show. We'll catch you guys next week.
Thank you for being a part of Motherhood Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Christy Holly on Her Insight Network on TogiNet.com. Join